This is Grounded. It's a AI analyst chatbot made for finance teams. It has a lot of functionality around being useful within the finance team. So it understands finance, it understands the business, and it's fully grounded on the documents within the team. And also it has citations and validations on the data. So everything that comes out is actually validated against your data. We'll go through some of that. But today I want to focus on how a new team member coming in can use it and how that would be useful to that person. So the documents that already have been ingested is a company, Caldergate, which is a totally fictitious company that I made up. And I made a whole document set around that. Everything is on GitHub. So you can validate whatever you see here. You don't have to take my word for it. Within this, you will have the pack. And within the pack, you have the documents. And these are all the documents that we have uploaded into Grounded as the knowledge base. So as a new member coming in, and that's happened to me quite a number of times, you're completely new to the company and the documents that it produces and everything that happens around the team. Usually you'd be onboarded and somebody would take you through all of this. But a lot of the times there are like questions that everyone else in the team takes for granted that you don't know, that you would like to ask. But I think the longer you go in, the longer you worked in the business, it suddenly becomes like this silly question that you don't want to ask anyone. And this will fill a lot of those gaps out. So let's start with something simple. I have some questions here that I've done before, so I'm going to copy and paste them. So I'm new here. How does Caldergate's monthly reporting actually work? What gets produced each month? Who produces it? And which documents are authoritative? So this is quite useful for a newcomer, right? They don't have to wait on somebody who's free so that they can just go pop over and have a chat with them. Since Grounded knows the documents, it knows the processes, it knows a lot about the company already there. There are notes that I will cover in a bit. All of these are in the system, and as a newcomer, you don't have to wait for someone to be free in order to go to them and ask them all of this stuff. It can be more sort of value-added questions on opinions and things like that. Like with actual facts of the company, you don't really need to wait for someone for that. And really quite useful. The monthly rhythm, this tells you what your month-end processes are, and this can come from a process document and what gets produced and what's inside the monthly reporting pack. Now, this could actually be in a process document. That's quite straightforward. But the thing with process documents are they're not always updated, and also they don't like reference other documents and things like that. It's like someone has written this document and they've put it out there. Maybe have left the company and the document still persists. Over here, it gets more updated because it looks at multiple documents. So if you can see here, it cites everything from a different set of documents. And then you have the ability to look at those documents and the citations. So this one is the company profile as a document, financial reporting suite. This is the actual month end. And it's like triangulated everything the question asked from these documents. So another question that is quite customized, brief me like I'm meeting the CFO in an hour, scale, segments, funding covenants. And again, very specific answers to that question that you asked, all grounded within the documents. So the scale and setup, that's within this PowerPoint. The segment list, calculations around that, and we can have a look at that in a bit. The latest report. It even gives you a set of talking points because that's what I asked for originally, that I was going to meet the CFO. Another question that would be really useful for a new starter before I use any of this in a meeting. What should I be careful not to get wrong? So again, like these are like wide questions. You're asking whatever you think of at the time, and it's something like a trusted advisor who's sitting next to you telling you about the company. Here it'll tell you about the issued pack and working files and what to do. Unit convention. And the unit convention, it says that the management report is in thousands, but the legacy track thing here about covenants, and to be precise about it. And say, I'm coming in here, I don't know what LF1 is. And it tells me that LF1 is latest forecast 1. And what exactly that means within the context of Caldergate. So very useful in order to close gaps in knowledge for a newcomer as quickly as possible, because it tells you something instead of pretending that you know it and then forgetting that that question was asked and then hearing it later. You can actually ask that very specific question that you don't know and then close those gaps a lot quicker. Another thing that is useful is that it knows what it doesn't know, right? So I'm going to ask it what the CFO's salary is. And that data isn't in the data set. It couldn't find it. And it also knows the edges to which your document library has data. It knows who the CFO is, but it doesn't know that exact. So it will do the lookup. It will find out what it knows and it will tell you what it doesn't know. So again, like very useful. So you get to know what's in the database and what's not, what you can ask the data and what you need to ask an actual person or query a separate system. Another thing that's useful is the notebook. So over here you have notes and you have the company notes that are general to all the users of a particular company, but they also have personal notes. And this is what was put in by like the previous analyst that worked here. So this way, the knowledge doesn't go away once somebody goes away. You can keep these notes that the different analysts use, and that would be as a basis of what informs the chat. And also you can add your own notes. This is something that I've added. I've also saved it. Save it again. Yeah, and that's it. So quite useful for a newcomer. They have this dynamically generated set of data based exclusively on your files. Again, this is a fictional company. The data set is public. You can try it against whatever LLMs that you have, or even raw Claude or OpenAI, and see how it does. But this is like a general solution for within the team. I mean, if you had this on your first day of work, it would have been very useful for you. So wouldn't you wish that you had something like this?